Welcome to my podcast for episode 8, season 1, 2017 to 2018. My name is Nichel Anderson, and this is my podcast titled Nichel Anderson, Short Stories and Beyond, where I write my favorite stories, short stories featuring right now mostly of MOLIAE, but I will do modern day stories as well. Thank you so much for tuning in for this week. Let's go over a few things with this particular podcast. It's considered premium content that to get the full short story, you will have to be a patron. That particular page of information for you to sign up to be a patron is www.patron, that's patreon.com/Nichel Anderson. So what you will get in these episodes will be clips of the actual short story that I have done, and you will go there to that website that I will list that information in the description box for you to actually go there and sign up to become a patron, where you would get access to the full short stories that I have written and I have released. For most part, you will get the clippets. Now, sometimes I will release the full short story. I did release quite a few, the full short story when I launched this podcast in 2017 to get people to understanding what they were actually will get. And then after that, pretty much for the most of the season, it would be these clips and these snippets of the actual short story to encourage you to, if you would like to support it more, to become a patron. So these short stories are mostly of MOLIAE. If you've been following my production, you pretty much know what that is. If you have not, it's from my book, Mitzrayim, a memoir. It deals with ancient Egypt, Kemet. And in these characters, most of them have not been brought to life on stage or in any websodes that I have previously done or any short film. And I'm bringing it back in the sense of looking at these characters and bringing them to life. They're at least over 50. So I'm very excited. They're coming through real strong, and particularly Queen Hagar that I mentioned on social media. I didn't really put it on blast. I just kind of sent that out there for those that picked up on that it seems that this year, the first year of my podcast, it seems to be focusing on Queen Hagar. She seems to be talking to me strongly that she want me to talk about a moment of time with her and her mate, which is King Milan. This is the time before Princess Amelia. Again, if you followed my production of MOLIAE, you know Princess Amelia, she was the main character in the book. And of course, going forward, it was during that time when she was on the scene. Now, in my podcast, Nichel Anderson, Short Stories and Beyond, this is before the time of Princess Amelia. So we get to know a lot. What came up to that part in the sense that she had to choose, she had to marry King Dama, all of that drama. So now we get to go back in time to see the different players. New people are coming through that I'm very excited to learn about. Some people that were in from the book time frame is not on the scene yet, full stream. So it's very interesting. So please, I will encourage you to check out my director's clip. I do release that. For the most part, I've decided as of now to release that in a sense that is accessible. I will make it public and not completely all the way for patrons only that are patrons of my podcast, but to make the director's clip for the most part free access, so you can get to pick up and understand how these characters are coming through, why I wrote it like that, and so forth, and what's the connection between the two, because I love writing stories. Take a moment, go back and listen to my director's clip that gives you more in depth of the character. And now all of this also prepares you as a follower or someone new to my podcast, to prepare you for what I have been in the prep phase is we're turning MOLIAE back to stage. This is a bigger production. I have said it before. I'm bringing more characters to the stage. And then after the fact, I decided to do this podcast. This will give you the opportunity to learn about these characters, to connect with them. So when they do hit stage, now, I admit I might not be able to bring all 50 of them on stage, but I will bring enough that you will be able to already know the background and feel more engaged. And that's what stage is when you're doing a live production. You're so in tune. It's a very emotional. It's hard to describe, but the people that have been to a live performance know exactly what I'm talking about, especially in a theatrical sense. So let's go ahead and move on where we're talking about what happened last week. So last week, pretty much what we dealt with, and I'm going to try to get there, is episode 7. Okay, episode 7, that's where it's titled "In a New Day, Dreams Come True." If you haven't heard that episode, I encourage you to do. That was a clip too, so you will have to pay as a patron to get the full access. But anyway, it was a nice episode. That's where finally the royal family was brought together, meaning that Princess Hannah saw her dad, and she really enjoyed that moment. And also Queen Hagar was there. Now a new character came on the scene. You have to listen to the clip to find out, and more importantly, go ahead and become a patron and get the full short story. But anyhow, someone that they trust, someone in a high position, and it seems that, of course, not many people know the condition of King Milan that I did publicly announce when I did my director's clip, seeing that it was some type of war. Something happened. He got severely hurt. He came out of that state, but they're keeping his status very quiet, very secretive. They're not sharing that. But one person that's in the high status position in Mitzrayim, is what we call now the government or what have you, is aware of it and came to see them and gave them a message that the Orions were here. So anyhow, go ahead and check that out. And so I left that clip off at that point, and then we will move forward. And so now we're moving forward into this next episode, which we haven't really talked about this particular character that's coming up, which is Nontu. He opened the first scene. He was the first Orion that came through when I decided I think I need to do a podcast. That's why it just keep coming through these images, and she's keep talking to me, Queen Hagar. And Nontu was the first Orion, and then that interchange between Queen Hagar. It was a powerful scene, and you definitely have, and that was free access, and you definitely have to go see that one. That's episode 1, before the time of Princess Amia. That set this whole podcast off. I have got some good responses that people are enjoying it, I can see. And so at any rate, let's go ahead and start this episode where we return with Nontu. In this episode 8, in a moment, a new path is revealed. For my podcast, Nichel Anderson, Short Stories and Beyond. Opening scene. It was midday on the far western side of the Sudan, in the pointed hut just over the way near the running river stream. Nontu is seen walking out with 2 Orion High Council military officers and a tribal leader named Atin. He carries a long rod, as he wore orange with multi-colors of the rainbow attire tied on the left shoulder, and it ran down to his feet that were covered with cloth. He spoke fast to Nontu and pointed to the highest mountain just over the ridge. Nontu spoke in their language easily, as if he had spoken it long before. How can we trust them in that region against Mitzrayim? Atin spoke, pointing still to the area near the mountains. They have tried as well to get more into the area of the place that you seek, where the gods of there, He pointed upwards to the skies, left layers of gold as far as you can see. Nontu, still unmoved by pursuing such an area. There's always more gold to be taken. Mitzrayim is just the most of it there. Otin chuckled at a foolish statement he heard from Nontu. It is not, for Mitzrayim is from a sacred place. Why else your elders will come this far to get what you see in the lands of power? Nontu soaked in Otin's words for a moment. Suddenly, there was commotion further in the village. Some Orion military officers that were already close by Nontu started to guard Nontu protectively. Otin was calm, piercing through the crowds of moments of people, when one of his highest military leaders approached with 10 other guards. Otin, there was word of finding a new Nehemiah from Powerland. Nontu was confused of what he said to Otin before Otin turned to explain. My words stand on firm ground. You see, it seems our days will be fruitful going forward. They found a Mitzrayim god. Nontu still was a bit confused to what was the meaning of Otin saying to him. What did he mean of such a finding would benefit their cause against Mitzrayim? What do you feel of this? For this is just a guard, Otin. Otin shook his head no, then walked up closer to Nontu to speak in a lower voice. It is a general rank of the Mitzrayim. He is hurt badly and being kept just over the ridge. Otin pointed near the mountains, and Otin continued to speak to Nontu in a low voice. I know King Milan has been searching for him since the Maret War and Battle of Nontu. Nontu started to rub his chin as the many possibilities to use this against Mitzrayim. He turned to one of the Orion guards to return back to the High Council cave and report of his new mission to go search for this general with more details soon as a very good path to take at this time. Nontu turns back to Otin. Take me to this general of Mitzrayim. End scene. That concludes this week's episode. Thank you so much for being a patron of my podcast for the premium content titled Nichel Anderson, Short Stories and Beyond. Thank you. So long.